Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So inshallah, we'll be getting started in a minute, just waiting for everyone to join after Maghrib. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So inshallah, we'll be getting started. We're blessed to have with us today Usthada Fatima Lette. For those who don't know Usthada Fatima is an instructor at Qalam Institute. She teaches at the Qalam Seminary online at Qalam Connect, as well as a sister Sohba retreat and at the Faith Intensive. She's also a teacher at the Roots Community Space. Usthada Fatima graduated from Kennesaw State University with a bachelor's in psychology. She went on to graduate from the Alamiya program at Qalam Seminary. She's born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and continues to serve her community as a teacher at the Roswell Community Masjid. So we're blessed to have with us today Usthada Fatima.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. Jazakallah khairan, Brother Tokir. Like Brother Tokir mentioned, I am a student and also a teacher at Qalam Institute. So basically, I completed my studies at Qalam, did about 4 or 5 years there. I completed my studies there, and I also work and serve as an instructor there, as well as at the Roots community space. Some of my work that I've done with Qalam, or not only with Qalam, but just kind of like how I ended up where I am today, is that, I was born and raised in Atlanta, and I did a lot of community work there when I was young, in my teenage years mainly, considering that a lot of my family members, cousins, and things of that nature, we were very close, and we were very close in age. And we wanted to find things that were fun to do, but that was also not haram, you could say, things to have fun in the community or outside the community, go out and hang out with each other, but doing it in a way that was very much so halal, in a way that really was able to teach us more, and so on and so forth. So I got into community work that way, just kind of doing things for my cousins and my friends, my close friends. And from there, I then decided that, after I finished my associate's degree in psychology and comparative religion, I decided that, the community work that I was doing, it was great, but I needed some more training, I needed some more guidance. So what I did was I went off to study Arabic, because the first step to, deeper Islamic studies was actually studying Arabic. I didn't really think that I was going to go further than Arabic at that moment in my life, especially because I had the rest of my undergraduate career or education to finish. After studying Arabic, and during my time studying Arabic, I met Sheikh Nasser. And in that time, he, basically took on the role as a mentor for me, and encouraged me to finish my studies, or encouraged me to pursue further Islamic studies. That is when I enrolled into the Qalam Seminary, and at that time it was only a 1-year program, and I was able to lay the foundations of my Islamic knowledge. After doing that, I moved back to Atlanta actually to serve as an instructor in Islamic schools, and I taught primarily Arabic and Islamic studies, as well as revamping and revising the curricula for different Islamic schools in the Metro Atlanta area. I spent that time, really thinking about the importance of what I gained in my studies. And part of what I gained in my studies was the ability to really differentiate, or the ability to really understand and really embody and internalize the knowledge that I was actually receiving in the institution that I was studying at. And the thing about that was, it was so much bigger than just what we learn in the books. It was about your character, it's about how you carried yourself, it's about how you treated your parents, how you treated your family members. There's just so much more to it than just simply learning books. So I wanted to continue my studies. And when Qalam launched their Alim program, then I enrolled into their Alim program, and from there kept going, and ended up where I am today. And part of where I am today is the being given the, I would say, the mentorship that I need to be able to do the work that I so, desperately wanted to do throughout my youth, and also right now in my life, where I want to be able to serve my community, serve many communities, but primarily my own community, want to be able to give back, want to be able to really be a proper mentor to young girls, especially in the community, and teach them what it really means to be a Muslim woman in the community, what it really means to be someone who has studied, and also someone who can help, and someone who can be a mentor, someone who can be a role model. And I can't do that unless I have people who are, teaching me and mentoring me. And that's basically what Sheikh Nasser and Mufti Kamani and the other instructors that come and serve for me. And that leads me into the topic that actually we're here today, that throughout my studies, I've, spent time with a lot of male teachers and like learning and so on and so forth. But what really, struck me was the ability for those teachers to really be able to understand where I was coming from, understand my point of view, and make Fatima a better person, help Fatima get on that path of being better. And a lot of different ways that they've done that is by providing me with different examples through Islamic history, different examples through our tradition, that taught me that, okay, as a Muslim woman, as someone who is a Muslim woman who works and serves in the community, that I have the ability to have the utmost devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I have the ability to be able to give back to my community, that I have the ability, not only do I have the ability, but I am fully capable of being able to be in service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how we get to one of the most remarkable people that we have in our tradition, and that is Mariam alayhi salam. that Mariam alayhi salam, her mother, at a very young age, right before Mariam alayhi salam was even born, her mother devoted her to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we see this in Surah Ali Imran, which is the third surah, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala details this conversation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala details this devotion that Maryam alayhi salam's mother has for her, that she decides to put her into the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذْ قَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ إِمْرَانَ رَبِّ إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي. That when the wife of Imran said, "Oh my Lord, inni nadartu laka," that I am giving an oath, like I am devoting this child. Inni nadartu laka ma fi batni muharraran, that I'm devoting this child that is inside of my belly to you. And then she says, فَتَقَبَّلْ minni, so accept this child from me. إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ, that indeed you're the most hearing, you're the all hearing, the one who hears and the one who knows all. Then it continues and it talks about how the mother of Maryam alayhi salam, she had this idea that, I'm having this child and I want this child to be devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, what we know about this is that a lot of times, especially in that time, what it meant for somebody to devote their child meant that they will have like a male child. And that male child will be the one who will be able to like take care of the masjid. That child will be able to want to become like a rabbi or become a priest or an imam or so on and so forth. Like that child will be able to truly carry out this devotion. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to tell the story of what happens. فَلَمَّا وَدَعَتْهَا قَالَتْ رَبِّي إِنِّي وَدَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى. That when she gave birth to the child, she then turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and she said, "Oh my Lord," Rabb meaning the one who has been taking care of me, the one who has had a lot of responsibility over me, the one who has gotten me to the point that I am at today. She says, "Oh my Lord, Inni wada'tuha untha," that I gave birth to a daughter. I gave birth to a girl. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Wallahu a'lamu bima wada'at," that Allah knows best what you gave birth to. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best what you gave birth to. وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرُ كَالْأُنثَى. And true, men and women are not the same. But what we learn here is that as we keep going through the story of Maryam alayhi salam, we learn that it didn't mean that she was less than, it didn't mean that she wasn't able to accomplish what her mom put her in trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accomplish. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like, yeah, I know what you gave birth to. I know that she's a woman. And yeah, there is some truth to it that men and women are not the same. And so Maryam alayhi salam's mother then keeps going and she says, وَإِنِّي سَمَيْتُهَا Maryam, that I named her Maryam. Maryam meaning someone who is a servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's so important that we give our children good names because that helps in how their personality develops. That helps in who they become. So she named her daughter Maryam, meaning servant of Allah. وَإِنِّي أُعِيدُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And she says that, and I commend her and her offspring to your protection from the rejected shaitan. She's telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I'm putting my trust in you, O Allah, and I'm seeking refuge in you, that you keep shaitan away from her and her offspring, that you keep shaitan away from her and her future. Maryam alayhi salam is a baby. How does her mom know what's going to happen in the future? Her mom doesn't, but she makes dua for her child. She makes a lot of dua for her child. She dedicates her child to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As it keeps going, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, and probably these verses about Maryam are so beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَتَقَبَّلَهَا رَبُّهَا, that her Lord accepted her. Her Lord accepted Maryam alayhi salam. Maryam alayhi salam was accepted by Allah. بِقُبُولٍ حَسَنًا, in the most beautiful way of acceptance. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنْبَتَهَا نَبَاتًا حَسَنًا, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He raised her, He grew her in goodness. He raised her in goodness. وَكَفَّلَهَا زَكَرِيَّا, and if that wasn't enough, if it wasn't enough that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised her in goodness, وَكَفَّلَهَا Zakaria, He entrusted her with Zakaria. He put her in the hands and the trust of Zakaria. And what's so beautiful about that is that not only did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept her, not only did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise her in the most beautiful way, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then put her in the company and the care of a prophet. Who knows how to dedicate and devote themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than a prophet? No one. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put her in the care and put her under the responsibility of a prophet. And it says that Mariam alayhi salam, she would frequently go into what was called a mihrab, a sanctuary, a sacred place where she would go to basically worship, do some worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she would frequently go there. And Zakaria would come and he would enter into her mihrab to talk to her. And it says, كلما دخل عليها زكريا المحراب, that whenever Zakaria would come into her mihrab, come to the place where she was worshiping, وجد عندها رزقا, that he will find with her some rizq. He will find with her that she had some provisions. And these provisions are things like, for example, fruits that were outside of the season. Now we're used to eating mangoes in the middle of December, when really that's not the season for mangoes, but that's not how it was back then. That Mariam alayhi salam, she would have fruits that were outside of the season. And Zakaria alayhi salam, he came to her and he would ask her, Anna laki hada? Qala ya Mariam, Anna laki hada? What is this? Like, where'd you get it from? How is it that you have these fruits outside of the season? And Mariam alayhi salam, in the most beautiful way, she would reply to him, Qalat, huwa min indillah, that this came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she would say, Inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to whoever he wills in a way that is just easy. Okay, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can give to whoever he wills in the most easy way possible. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need any, like, you don't have to think that anything's impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is actually something that inspired Zakaria alayhi salam to go and to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Zakaria alayhi salam, he actually wanted to have a child. And that having a child was actually very difficult for him because he was very old, and his wife as well, she was also very old, and she wasn't able to have a kid. And Zakaria alayhi salam, he then calls to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the night. And he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the depths of the night, he asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a child. And what's so beautiful about this is that we learn from Mariam alayhi salam the importance of knowing that we should not limit the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should not limit the ability and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make it that you're able to have things that even if it seemed impossible, you can have it. That you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides that for you. And so Zakaria, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf. He says, Kahf haya ain sad, dhikru rahmati rabbika abdahu Zakaria. Okay, he says, mention the mercy that your Lord had on his slave Zakaria. إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ نِدَاءً خَفِيًّا, when he called to his Lord secretly in the night, saying, Qala Rabbi, he said, Oh my Lord, inni wahana al-'azmu minni. He says that my bones have weakened. Like my bones they're falling away from me. They've weakened. Washta'ala al-ra'su shayba, and my hair is on fire. Like I have a lot of gray hair. I'm very old. Walam akum bidu'aika rabbi shakiya, but I've never been heartbroken in my dua to you. I've never been betrayed. I've never prayed to you and felt betrayed in my dua to you. He says, وَإِنِّي خِفْتُ الْمَوَالِي مِنْ وَرَائِي وَكَانَتْ امْرَأَتِي آكِرًا. He says that I fear that I won't have any offspring. I won't have any, that when I'm gone, that I won't have any offspring. I won't have anybody to carry on this message. I won't have anybody to inherit from me. Talking about carrying on the mission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, carrying on this religion. I won't have anybody to be able, who will be qualified enough to stand up and guide the people. And then he says, وَكَانَتْ امْرَأَتِي عَاقِرًا, and my wife is barren, like she's very old. فَهَبَ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ وَلِيًّا, so grant me, especially from you, a son, a child, somebody that will inherit from me. And he says, يَرِثُنِي وَيَرِثُ مِنْ آلِ يَعْقُوب, he would inherit from me and from the family of Yaqub. وَجَعَلْهُ رَبِّي رَضِيًّا, and make him content, Ya Allah, make him well pleasing to you, O Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya Zakaria, O Zakaria, Inna nubashiruka bi gulamin ismuhu Yahya, that we have given you the good news of a child, and his name is Yahya. وَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ سَمِيًّا, and we have never named a child this name before him. This Zakaria just walking in on Maryam alayhi salam, seeing that there are fruits outside of season, and all of these things inspired Zakaria to make this beautiful dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where he's given his child Zakaria, who serves as a prophet. That is Maryam alayhi salam. But Maryam alayhi salam was tested in her life. She was tested in her life, and she was tested with the test of a child. Now, when we talk about this, a lot of times we forget that Maryam alayhi salam, she was blessed with this test because she had the dua that her mom made for her before she was born. That her mom made this dua that she will be dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she'd be devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Maryam alayhi salam, she was somebody who was already devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about this in Surah Maryam. وَاذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ Maryam, and mention in the book of Maryam, the story of Maryam. إِذْ انْتَبَذَتْ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا مَكَانًا شَرْقِيًّا. She withdrew from her family to a place far to the east. And the thing is, Maryam alayhi salam, because she would devote herself and dedicate herself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she wanted to go into seclusion, to spend some time, to just really spend some time with Allah. She would frequently leave from her family and go there. So she would frequently leave from her family and go to her mihrab and devote herself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَاتَّخَذَتْ مِن دُونِهِمْ حِجَابًا. Then she would seclude herself in a way that she will put a barrier between herself and her family. And then it says, فَأَرْسَلْنَا إِلَيْهَا رُوحَنَا. So we sent to her our spirit, our angel, meaning Jibril alayhi salam. فَتَمَثَّلَ لَهَا بَشَرًا سَوِيًّا. And he appeared to her in the way of a well-proportioned man, meaning that he didn't come to her looking like an old man. He didn't come to her looking scary. He came to her looking like a very good-looking man. And part of Maryam alayhi salam's taqwa, part of her God consciousness, part of her in protecting herself, the first thing that she says when she sees this man, she says, قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا. She says that I seek refuge in Allah from you if you are truly God conscious, meaning like I called upon God, you better go away. You need to leave. Like this is not okay. And this man says, قال, he says, إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا. He says that indeed I am a messenger from your Lord, and I'm giving you the good news, the gift of a pure child. Now, Maryam alayhi salam, she went away from her family to do the worship that she normally would do. And now she's getting this news of a child, that she's going to have a child. And so what do you think her reaction is? Then she says, قالت أَنَّا يَكُونُ لِي غُلَامٌ وَلَمْ يَمْسَسْنِي بَشَرٌ وَلَمْ أَكُ بَغِيًّا. And we see in this ayah that the way that the Quran talks about things, it talks about it in the most dignified, it talks about it in the most respectful way. That Maryam alayhi salam turns to him and she says, how can I have a child? Like you're telling me I'm having a child? وَلَمْ يَمْسَسْنِي بَشَرٌ. That no man has ever touched me. I didn't do anything to warrant a child. وَلَمْ أَكُ بَغِيًّا. And I was never unchaste. I never crossed any boundaries, baghiya, to cross societal boundaries. I never crossed any societal boundaries. And Jibril alayhi salam replies and he says, قَالَ كَذَلِكَ. Just like that. قَالَ رَبُّكِ هُوَ عَلَيَّ هَيِّنٌ. That your Lord said that this is easy for him. وَلِنَجْعَلَهُ آيَةً لِلنَّاسِ. And we're going to make this child a miracle. We're going to make this child an example. We're going to make this child an example, a miracle. We're going to make him a sign for the people. وَرَحْمَةً مِنَّا. And a mercy from us. وَكَانَ أَمْرًا مَقْضِيًّا. This is something that has been commanded and is going to happen. And it continues where she's now is carrying and she's pregnant with Isa alayhi salam. فَحَمَلَتْهُ فَانْتَبَذَتْ بِهِ مَكَانًا قَصِيًّا. That she's carrying him and she went to a very remote place. She took herself to a very remote place because she is pregnant with a child. And so she takes herself to a very remote place. فَأَجَاءَهَا الْمَخَاضُ إِلَى جِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ. That the pains of childbirth, the pains of labor pushed her and drove her to the trunk of a date palm tree. قالت, and she yells and screams out of agony and pain, يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا, that I wish I died before this moment and I was something that was long forgotten. Imagine, she's by herself, she's alone, she doesn't have anybody there with her, she's giving birth to a child, this child is a miracle child, an angel had come to her, she's going through a lot. And she knows that when she comes back to her people are going to do what? They're going to talk bad about her. They're going to talk bad about her. They're going to treat her badly. And they're going to say things about her that are completely untrue. And so she says that I wish I was forgotten before this moment. But then what happens? فَنَادَاهَا مِن تَحْتِهَا, that she was called from beneath her, meaning from below the valley. مِن تَحْتِهَا أَلَّا تَحْزَنِي, don't be sad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells her, don't be sad. قَدْ جَعَلَ رَبُّكِ تَحْتَكِ سَرِيًّا, that your Lord has made a spring beneath you, a river beneath you. وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْءِ النَّخْلَةِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells her to shake towards you the date palm tree. And what we learn here, he says, تُسَاقِطَ عَلَيْكِ رُطَبًا جَنِيًّا, and you will see that these fresh date palm trees fresh dates will fall upon you. And what we see here is that when we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help, it's so important that we also put in the effort as we're asking him for help. That we don't just, we ask, we turn to Allah for sure, but you put in effort as well. You try to help yourself as well, that you work for it as well. And so here, Mariam alayhi salam, she shakes the date palm tree, and what happens? These fresh dates fall upon her. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَكُلِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّي عَيْنًا, eat and drink and cool your eyes, be content. فَإِمَّا تَرَيَنَّ مِنَ الْبَشَرِ أَحَدًا, that if any person comes to you, any guy or any person, any human tries to talk to you, فَقُولِي, then you should tell that person, إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا, that I've taken an oath to the most merciful, like I've made an oath with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Soma, I'm taking a fast, I'm having a fast. And what type of fast was this? فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا, today I'm not talking to any person. That you should let them know, you should indicate, you should signal that you're not talking to anybody, that you're not going to speak to anybody. فَتَتْبِهِ قَوْمَهَا تَحْمِلُ. Now, Mariam alayhi salam, before, she was very nervous about what her people were going to say. She was very scared, she was very nervous. But now what happens? Now that she has the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now she's put her tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to be there for her. فَأَتَتْبِهِ قَوْمَهَا تَحْمِلُ. She went straight to her people carrying this child. And exactly what she feared will happen happens. But this time, she has a level of trust. She has a level of confidence because she has a lot of conviction in her Lord. قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا. They said, oh Maryam, you did something really bad. You did something really strange. يا أخت هارون, oh sister of Harun. ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغية. Your dad wasn't a bad person, and your mother, she wasn't unchaste. They connected her to her lineage. Now they're saying you didn't come from a bad family. Why are you doing things that you shouldn't be doing? And Maryam alayhi salam, she does exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells her to do. فَأَشَارَتْ إِلَيْهِ, she points to the baby. And now they're looking at her confused, like, why are you pointing at a baby? قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا. How can we talk to a baby that's in a carrier? How can we talk to somebody that's in a carrier, somebody that's so little? And the baby speaks, this miraculous moment where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly comes through for her, that her child speaks on her behalf. قال إني عبد الله. The very first thing he says that is, indeed, I am the slave of Allah. أتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا. He gave me the book and he made me a prophet. وَجَعَلَنِي مُبَارَكًا أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُ, and he made me blessed wherever I go. وَأَوْصَانِي بِالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا, and he's commanded me and advised me of salah, establishing my prayers and giving my zakah مَا دُمْتُ حَيًّا, for as long as I'm alive. And we see the importance of salah and zakah here, that the two things that Isa alayhi salam mentions is his salah, his prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and zakat, the sacrifice that he's supposed to give for other people in this world. And then it says, وَبَرًّا بِوَالِدَتِي, and I've always been devout and dutiful to my mother. وَلَمْ يَجْعَلْنِي جَبَّارًا شَقِيًّا, and I've never been a jabbar, a tyrant. that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't make me a tyrant, shakia, he didn't make me unblessed. Wassalamu alayya, and peace be on me, yawma wulidtu, on the day that I was born, wa yawma amutu, the day that I will die, wa yawma ub'athu hayya, and the day that I'll be resurrected, the day that I'll be brought back to life. And it ends off here with dhalika Isa ibn Maryam. That is Isa, the son of Maryam. The word of truth above which they are disputing. Like, this is the truth. The truth is, this is Isa, the son of Mary. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala miraculously, this was a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Maryam alayhi salam, we learn from her conviction, we learn from her dedication, and we learn from her strength. That she didn't let this situation that could have been horrible, that the way that they were talking to her, like, your mother never did this, your father never did this, where did you get this bad behavior from? The way that they were treating her, she didn't let any of that deter her from her devotion and her dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why she's one of the most honored and amazing women to ever walk the face of this earth. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us people who learn from her example and is able to apply it into our life. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us people who really truly embody the tawakkul that Maryam alayhi salam exhibited. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan.
Jazakallahu khairan, Usthada Fatima. I just wanted to touch base. Can you stop sharing screen for a second?
Sorry. Yes.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to make sure it was looking at me. Sorry. Thank you so much, Usthada Fatima. I just wanted to open. We really appreciate your talk. Allah bless you and your family for your time. I wanted to open it up for question and answer. If anyone watching from Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube, inshallah, wanted to share or ask any questions to Usthada Fatima in regards to her talk or her personal story or so on, inshallah, feel free to ask, inshallah. I also wanted to share one of the initiatives of having Usthada Fatima come is we were going to hopefully be highlighting more of our female scholarship, inshallah, in the coming year with our religious programming and our interfaith working group that we currently have. So Usthada Fatima, inshallah, is helping facilitate kicking that off for us all. So we're blessed to have her this evening.
Thank you guys for having me.
Imran, if there's questions on Facebook or YouTube you wanted to bring over. One of the questions was, Usthada Fatima, what are some of the programs that you do with the youth that you could give some advice for us in our community, specifically the sisters, that would be beneficial? Because so often, sometimes the sisters, as you mentioned, don't necessarily have a personal connection. Our Imam, mashallah, does go out of his way and does create that connection as best as possible. But what are some programs that you do for young sisters or just the youth that you could think we could implement in our community?
I would say that one of the programs that I do that to me has like the most effect and the most reach is called Desserts and Discussions. It's a very it's a cute program. Basically what we normally do, right now COVID has things a little bit different, but what we normally do is that we will have some like desserts, like some donuts or something, just really simple, and then we'll have a topic. And basically it's not Halaqa. It's actually like a topic that the girls may have chosen or like we choose or whatever the case may be. And I serve as a facilitator for that topic. So I will ask questions, discussion questions, and I'll have them bounce ideas off of each other and stuff like that. And then at the end, kind of wrap it all together with just some like advice. So for example, 2 weeks ago we talked, and it's bi-weekly. So 2 weeks ago we talked about gossip. And backbiting. And so it sounds like really, really like religious in the way that we say it, but no, we were just talking about, okay, what do you do in the situation that you're chilling with your friends and like somebody comes and they're talking about, you know, somebody else, what do you do? Or what is the thin line between what is the line between venting and actually talking about somebody, and just posing these questions out to them and like getting their thoughts and then being able to work around the way that they're thinking, especially sometimes like they may have an interesting way of thinking and that may, you know, just kind of poke holes at their fallacies and things of that nature. And so that's really fun because it gets them talking as well. And it also gets them to open up and be able to like really be heard, where you're not just talking to them to try to change the way that they're thinking, but you're talking to them to truly get to know them and truly get to know where they're coming from. And it makes all of the other programming, such as like some halaqas that we do, like for example, stories of the prophets or whatever the case may be, it makes those programs more engaging because then they actually are willing to listen to those advices and things of that nature. I think you're on mute, Brother Tokir. Tokir, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. But one of the sisters in our community asked a question. How do we have any practical steps where we can that can provide our children to be more righteous, similar to Mariam, or also maybe specifically geared towards our young daughters?
That is a very good question. Yeah, that's a very good question. I would say one, okay, so the first thing is that like sometimes what we think is that once our kids become teenagers, that's when we're to talk to them and tell them, you start talking to your kids very young, start talking to them, build that relationship with them. I think that also the second thing is that we think that with children, if we're open with them, that they'll always be open with us, when sometimes there's not the case, especially for teenagers. When kids become teenagers, they kind of don't want to talk to their parents. But it doesn't mean that that's not that at that time you can't do anything. What's important is making sure that you're very intentional about who you put your kids around and about who becomes your kids' mentor and the people that your kids look up to. Because when they go through tough times, when things happen, they're going to turn to those people. So for example, if I give my example, my mom was very particular about who we hung out with. I didn't know it. Okay, she wasn't very like chokeholdy type. She wasn't the type to say, no, you can't go here, no, you can't go there. The people I chose to hang out with were the people who my mom intentionally put in my life, which became the biggest plot twist when I turned like 20 and realized that my mom had always chose my friends for me. I just didn't know it. So basically, like I have an aunt who I would go to for everything. Like she was older, but she also, like, if I didn't feel like talking to my mom, even though my mom was a very open person, if I didn't feel like talking to her, I would talk to this aunt or I would talk to certain friends. And they were all people who their families raised them in a very similar way, that we all like went to the same masjid, in the sense that like my mom trusted, how their parents raised them. My mom trusted also like, what background they came from. My mom trusted a lot about them. And so when I would need to talk to somebody, I would go to these people. Little did I know they were feeding information back to my parents, which was fine because my mom never questioned me about it. She never asked me anything. She never said anything. And as I got older, I realized that guidance that I had outside of my family was very important, that I really needed a mentor. And that mentor had to be somebody who accepted Fatima for Fatima and wanted to help me become a better person, even though I was a teenager who may have wanted to make a not so smart decision at some point. Teenagers will make decisions that are not great, but it's important to put people in their lives that they will be able to trust, that will help them, to guide them to make better decisions. Another thing is that, sometimes we expect our kids to pray, for example, and we don't even pray in front of them. Like we don't pray in front of them. We don't call them to prayer. One principle that is very important is making sure that everybody in the house prays together. If you're in the house, we're all praying together. You eat one meal together, building that family, building family bonds, building all of this. It goes to the child as an overall, like you get an overall wholesome child, that you just don't make them righteous by simply sending them to lectures and things of that nature. It works both in the home and outside of the home. That you have to teach them values. You have to teach them, where their values lie. Why is it that this is a value? You have to be very involved. And if you don't feel like you can be that as a parent, it's okay. If you don't feel like you can be that involved as a parent in teaching your kids, some people don't have the patience for it. It's okay. Don't feel bad, but put somebody in their life that can be there for them, that can do that for them. That is very, very important. And that will help serve as their guide and help serve as the person to help them, to guide them and make sure that they're making the right decision so that they can stay on that path of righteousness. And if they end up falling off, that they know how to get back on, that they know, okay, I can go to this person can help me to really push me into the right direction.
Thank you so much for that beautiful answer. Another follow-up question was in regards to your introduction. A sister or a community member asked, what pushed you to study growing up in the US? Because female scholarship is very sparse, unfortunately. And with that being said, what would you recommend for us to increase female scholarship within our communities? Like, what can we do as a community to help facilitate that for any age group?
Well, so there are many things that pushed me. The first thing that I would say is that I think my mom made a lot of dua for this. I didn't know. Again, this sounds like a lecture about my mom and how I just never know what she's doing. But she did make a lot of dua. When I was after I graduated from high school, I was very young when I graduated from high school. I graduated high school fairly early, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I want to go to college? Or did I want to maybe take a year, 2 years, 3 years? Because I was so young that if I decided to take 4 years off from college, it wouldn't have been a big deal. I would have just graduated at the same time as the rest of my friends. And so my mom told me, you should go and study at Qalam, not at Qalam, sorry. She said you should go off and study in some foreign country or whatever. Now, the thing was that I wanted to study because growing up and doing the youth programs I was doing, I felt like I didn't have any true female mentors. Like my Quran teacher was a woman, and she is one of the most amazing women I've ever come in contact with, but she was much older. And she was very nice, she was very kind. She gave me a lot in her life. Like she gave me a lot of mentorship, a lot of very guided things, but there were certain things that she just could not relate to. There were certain things about my life that she could not relate to. And I felt like I didn't have that. And so at that time, when I was thinking about potentially studying, I thought to myself, this will be a good thing because I want young girls to have somebody that they can relate to, that they can look up to, that they will be able to, talk to, ask questions, and those people will actually have the questions, have the answers to your questions, or be able to teach you about being a Muslim girl in America, because it's not easy at all, or dealing with for example, my parents are from Gambia. So for me, being a Muslim foreign American girl is very different too, as well. So these different identities or backgrounds, having somebody to be there for them. So in that young age, it kind of crossed my mind with my mom's duas, but then I was like, no, I'm going to go to college. Halfway through college during my associate's degree, I decided that this was something I should do, because at that time I started getting more heavily involved in Islamic work, and I realized that there was so much work to be done. There were so many more things that so many more questions to be answered, so many more girls that really needed mentorship. I thought it was just me and my cousins. And then I went off to college, and it was so many Muslim people, Muslim girls, who we had no idea what it meant. How does it look like being a Muslim woman working? A Muslim woman who works and knows their deen. How does that look like? That was something that was foreign to us. We didn't have that. We didn't have that mentorship of somebody, for example, one of my cousins, she memorized Quran and she wanted to be a Quran teacher, and she wanted to help young girls, have a better experience memorizing Quran and stuff like that. She didn't know where to start, because we didn't have much of that. We didn't have many mentors. We didn't have many people to look up to. And so I said, I'm going to go off and study Arabic. And I was very naive in thinking that Arabic was just the end all be all, until I met Sheikh Nasser. And, I saw the way that Qalam's programming was, in the sense of when I went on their website, I saw that they said that, this is mentorship for people who want to work in American communities. And I thought to myself, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I live in America. I want to work in American communities. I want to be able to serve my religion. And serve my community, and this is what I want to do. And so, but I was very wary, because I had already applied for all of these overseas programs, and I didn't want to go overseas because I felt like learning my religion overseas and then trying to come back to the States would have just been too difficult and too much, and also some cultural things I just did not want to deal with. So when I met Sheikh Nasser, I was very worried, because I was like, man, I hope he's not one of those sheikhs that are really uptight and I'm a woman and Sheikh in talking to women, and then like I don't know how he's supposed to mentor me because this is going to be really awkward. Like I just had a lot of anxieties, a lot of, you know, just reservations. But after meeting him, I realized that the mission that Qalam wanted for students was to take them as they are and just make them better people for who they are. And that's exactly what I was looking for. And then that in you becoming a better person as Fatima, you're able to serve your community in the best way possible. And that is exactly what I was looking for. I didn't want somebody to change me. I didn't want somebody to make me become a Sumaya or like an Aisha or somebody. Like my name is Fatima. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made me with this personality. And I just want somebody to help mold me to be a better Fatima. And that is what Qalam, you know, promised to do. And that is what Qalam continues to do for me. And so my advice is that if you know girls in your community that want to study, invest in them heavily, because that investment will go a long way. Invest in them, send them off to study, help make their journey easy, and allow for them to come back and truly serve the community, because they will do it way better than your actual investment. And I say this because we as women, we as young girls who grew up here in America, we are in dire need of female scholarship. We're in dire need of young women who look just like us to be able to teach us our religion and really teach us our rights and teach us how to be the best Muslim woman possible. Because we have so many other influences that know nothing, absolutely nothing, and they are trying to teach us our religion, and we get trapped into these little traps that are very difficult to come out of. And we end up having to clean up a whole lot of messes. So if you know young girls in your community that truly want to study, it's so important that you invest in them. The second thing that I will say is that make sure you continue to invite female scholars and female students of knowledge to your community so that you can inspire your young girls, you can inspire the girls in your community to also go off and study, to also embark on this journey. Because if they don't see it, they don't know that it's possible. If they don't see it, they don't know that this is something that is possible and is doable and it's attainable and it's rewarding and it's something that, you know, is needed, and it's something that you can be fulfilled in it. You can have a good life in it. It's something that is possible to do. I didn't know it was possible to do. Time to time again, I sit with Sheikh Nasser and I ask him, Sheikh, are you sure that this is something that I should dedicate my life to? Because it seems impossible. And time again, he tells me, we're going to get through this together. That's the type of mentorship that we need for our young girls. This is the type of things that we need for our young girls to see, that they will be inspired to do it if they see it. So please continue to invite female scholars over into your community and students of knowledge to be able to inspire your young girls.
Thank you so much. Another quick, I know we've taken a lot of your time, but this will be the last question. Community members are asking, do you teach anywhere online, and what do you currently teach in Dallas? You mentioned you teach in Georgia as well as at the seminary, and then community space. And in the second part, Fatima, do you teach anything else online?
Yes, so actually because of COVID, all of my classes are now online, all of them. But to break it down, basically I teach at Qalam and I teach at the seminary, which is the full-time year program. So I teach at the seminary, I teach what's called Ulum al-Quran, the sciences of the Quran. And then I also teach on Qalam's online platform, so Qalam's online learning class. Currently, I have a class going called Al-Wasiya, meaning the advice, and that's for women only. It's on Mondays and Wednesdays. If you go to qalam.institute, then you will be able to /online learning. So qalam.institute/online learning, you'll be able to find that class there. In terms of Roots community space, so Roots is a community space in Dallas, and I teach 3 classes for Roots. I teach there. And these are also online. And if you go to Roots Facebook page, Roots, I think it's just called Roots Facebook page, basically, you'll see the classes there. So I teach a class on Wednesday mornings, and it's called the 40 Ahadith of Imam Nawawi. And then I teach Wednesday evening, and that's called Exploring the Quran. Basically, it's a thematic tafsir of just different things. So right now we're actually finishing up the story of Mariam. We just finished it last week, so we'll be launching a new program this upcoming week. And then on Thursdays, I teach a class called Soul Food, and I'm going through the tafsir of Surah Al-Qasas, the 28th chapter in the Quran. And then bi-weekly, I do a class called Desserts and Discussions for Young Girls, for teenage girls. And that's also, you can find all of this on rootsdfw.org. It's all there. And like, for example, if you have young girls that want to log on for the desserts and discussions, they can definitely log on. It's not just limited to Dallas, because it's online now. So those are the 4 things as of right now that I'm doing for Roots. And then we'll be launching a college girls program that will also be bi-weekly. And then I also work in Atlanta. So in Atlanta, I work at a masjid called Roswell Community Masjid, and I serve as the education director there and the resident scholar. So what I do is that I basically monitor the educational direction of the entire masjid. So from the khutbahs to the Sunday school to the summer camps, the summer programs, the women's classes, adult classes, the halaqas that happen throughout the week, make sure that everything is on the mission and the goal of the masjid. And our mission and goal of that particular masjid is to come as you are and grow as you like. So we provide programming for different age groups and different levels for people, whether it be reading Nuraniya for just learning the alphabets for adults, or just for kids, or actually reading lots of Quran, or whatever the case may be. And so for that community, I actually do online classes there as well. It is called Roswell Community Masjid, and I do an online class every Friday for the entire community. So it's broadcasted Facebook Live on Surah Al-Hujurat. So right now, we just started it today, actually. Each Friday, after we finish the surah, then I would just add another surah. So this time we're doing Surah Al-Hujurat, and I do a women's only class on Saturdays for Surah Al-Furqan, and I do a teens only class on Sundays for the Seerah and the life of the Prophet. Yeah, I think that's all the classes that I currently teach. I'm not sure.
We appreciate with how busy you are. We really appreciate you making time for us. That the community has benefited so much. Allah bless you and your family and your parents for making this dua, and your teachers for mentoring and growing you spiritually. We really hope you can visit us post-COVID, inshallah, in person, where the community can meet you, inshallah, and hopefully you can deliver a Friday community Halaqa for us as in a weekend program if you'd be available, inshallah. But thank you again so much for your time. We really, really benefited, inshallah. You and your family and all of your mentors are in our du'as, inshallah. Again, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you everyone for joining this evening, and please remember Usthada Fatima and her prayers. Jazakumullah khair, everyone. Inshallah, we'll see you guys soon. Assalamu alaikum.